Okay. Thanks very much. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for coming to this hybrid meeting of the Eastern Area Committee. If anyone has any electronic devices that are in attendance, please make sure that they are muted to avoid the horrible feedback that we had in the Standards Committee the other day. Also, if there is anybody in remote attendance, please could you keep your cameras off and microphone off unless you wish to speak, as this can affect the quality of the meeting. And if possible, just leave your cameras off the whole time when speaking. So as I said, I'd like to welcome everybody to this hybrid Eastern Area Committee meeting, including everyone who is also here remotely, especially this close to Christmas. Thank you for turning out this late in the year. The following Swire Council officers are in attendance: Head of Environment and Leisure Services, Martin Cassell, Community and Safety Manager Steph Curtis, Policy and Engagement Officer Janet Dart, and Senior Conservation and Design Officer Jamil Kishore. I'd also like to welcome any parish and town representatives in attendance. Would you like to introduce yourselves, please? Shall we go to Councillor Tutt first?
Good evening, Councillor Jeff Tutt from Dunkirk Parish Council and the Swale Area Committee of Calc.
Councillor Josh Rowlands of Babsham Town Council.
Councillor Stewart.
Yes, hello, Alan Stewart. I'm a member of Grave Newry Goodnestone Parish Council.
And then Councillor Farrell.
Chair of All Parish Council.
And Councillor Elworthy. Also here, they are a member of Newnham Parish Council. If any of the Parish Council attendees want to speak on any item, they're more than welcome to. Please raise your hand if you're here in physical attendance, and also use the hand emoji on Teams if you wish to speak, and you'll be called in. You can also indicate that you want to speak in the IM, but please don't use that to have a conversation. It's only for indicating that you'd like to speak. Great. So agenda item 1 is election of a vice chair. So following the resignation of Councillor Williams, a new Eastern Area Committee vice chair will need to be elected. Are there any nominations, please?
I'm sorry, before we go to vice chair, can we welcome the new councillor?
Absolutely. Welcome, Councillor Gibson.
Thank you.
should put it on as an agenda point. I'm slavishly sticking to the agenda. But yes, welcome, Councillor Gibson, to your first meeting at Swire, I believe. And it's lovely to have you. Okay, yeah. On that point, can we elect? Have you got a nomination?
I'd like to propose Councillor Ben Martin as the vice chair.
Do we have a seconder for that proposal? Does anyone have any other nominations? Can we all vote on that then, please? Those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Lovely, that's unanimous. Thank you very much. So Councillor Ben Martin will be the vice chair from this point onwards, and hopefully be here at the next meeting when he's feeling better. So agenda item number 2 is the fire evacuation procedure. Please be aware of the evacuation procedures to follow in the event of any emergency. There is no scheduled test of the fire alarm during this meeting, and if the alarm does go off, please leave the building quickly without collecting any of your possessions, using the doors signed as fire escapes, and assemble outside where directed. Await instructions before re-entering the building. Should anyone require assistance in evacuating the building, please make the Swire Borough Council officers aware of any special needs. Does anyone have any additional needs for evacuating the building at all? And please don't use the lifts. Okay, apologies for attendance, please, Janet.
Yes, Councillor Benmore, Councillor Beeman. Could you put your device on mute, please, otherwise we're getting feedback. Thank you. Councillor Rich Lehman, Councillor Claire Martin and Councillor Lloyd Bowen. Councillor Terry Thompson, I don't think he's here. Has anybody got apologies for him? No, okay, thank you. That's all, thank you. That's helpful.
Okay, agenda item 4, any declarations of interest at all? No. Okay, agenda point 5, do members agree the minutes of the meetings held on the 28th of September 2023, minute numbers 318 to 330 as a correct record? Does anyone have any points to raise? Are you happy to propose those minutes? Okay, proposed by councillor Hempston. Do you have a second over the minutes, please? Thanks, councillor Jackson. Can we accept that as a correct record then, please? Yeah. Lovely. Okay, agenda item 6, Steph Curtis, the Community Safety Manager, will be introducing the next item on community safety privacy. I'm going to hand over to you.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Janet's going to bring up some slides for me, if that's all right.
Yes.
I wanted to do a little bit of an activity with you all this evening, which hopefully won't be too strenuous. We've done it with the other area committees and it has been fine. Part of my role within the council is coordinating the Community Safety Partnership, which some of you may have heard of. The Community Safety Partnership is a statutory partnership that brings together a number of key partners to tackle crime, antisocial behaviour, disorder, substance misuse and reoffending. The agencies that sit within that partnership, of which Scarborough Council is one, also includes Kent County Council, the police, the probation service, the Police and Crime Commissioner, health agencies, and I've probably missed some, Kent Crime Rescue Service, and we also work very closely with other agencies such as Southern Housing and the Prison Service. Each year we're required to have a community safety plan in place, which basically sets out the priorities for what the partnership are and has an action plan underpinning it about how we're going to deliver it. Each year around this time of year, we start to think about what the priorities for the following year are going to be. We generally will undertake a data exercise, pulling together data from lots of partners to see, what their priorities might be. But additionally, we like to try and speak to key stakeholders to actually capture some views on what you think the priorities should be. So I've been to each of the area committees and sort of this round to have the same conversation with you to find out actually what you think the community safety priorities for your area should be. And next slide, please, Janet. I won't expect you to look at this little diagram, it's far too small, but this is just to give a flavour of what the current priorities for partnership are. There's 4 kind of main headlines. One is domestic abuse. This has been a priority for the partnership for sort of 10 to 15 years, and actually particularly when I started in role, not everybody was aware of what domestic abuse was. There weren't really any services to support victims and survivors. So we've come a long way in that front. And actually a lot of the role at the moment is just ongoing awareness of what domestic abuse is to the public and to partners, making sure there's training and just making sure there's communication to identify any gaps in services. And the next priority is crime and serious violence. Again, 10 to 15 years ago, that would have very much seen partners working together to tackle burglary, criminal damage, shoplifting, and not that those things aren't important now, but the focus has slightly moved away towards tackling serious violence, as well as a response to violence against women and girls specifically. The third priority is antisocial behaviour, so that is making sure there's a response to sort of really high risk victims of ASV, as well as trying to really focus on tackling location-based problems. And then the fourth priority is kind of a slightly newer focus for partners, but it's around supporting vulnerable people. So that's around making sure that those with complex needs are supported, as well as making sure that some of those more hidden issues are identified and tackled. So that might be modern slavery and trafficking. It might be criminal exploitation. So again, it's a lot of awareness raising work, a lot of training for partners and public. And then there's a couple of what we call cross-cutting themes, I suppose, the things and issues that partners work on together across all of that, which probably one of the key ones really at the moment is around communication. Next slide, please, Janet. So what I wanted to do with you today really is just some quite sort of really short workshop really to actually ask you for your areas that you're here representing tonight, what you think the community safety issues are in your area. And then of those issues that you identify, actually, what do you think the top three are? I'm going to take those away from tonight and from the other area committees to feed back to the Community Safety Partnership when it meets. I think it's now the beginning of February because we've had to change the meeting date. So it's a more setting process. I think we've discovered from the other areas that we don't need quite as long as we've allocated on the slides. I think probably 10 minutes in groups would be more than fine. I don't know if we wanted to maybe just split into sort of that side of the room and this side of the room, and Councillor Perkin join in where you feel. For those of you that attended online, conscious that you obviously can't join in on a group, but if you wanted to put any comments in the chat in terms of what you think the priorities for your area should be, then I can take those off. But I don't know if we wanted to break into short groups, if somebody's willing to feed back from each group in about 10 minutes. That's okay. Cool, thank you. I'd like to feel that you know how you can feed in.
St Stephen's Close. That's every Friday night, and this has been going on since the GCSE results came out. Yeah, it has for a long, long time. I keep going to the police because obviously they get in touch with me. We've got one lady, Sue, she's had to pay out £800 for a camera. She can't sleep on a Friday night. She's absolutely right. She was crying more or less in the meeting with the police. She came to it. And she said she's sitting there Friday nights just looking out of her window all the time, waiting for it because she's had cones put through her door, a car damaged.
Or does this lady live in Silverpot
She's
Road?
old Park Road. She's on the end house. One of the residents was saying about that one because they said they come from the recreation ground Friday nights. It seems there's a group about 8:30 and then there's another group about 1:30 because one dear old lady in a bungalow had a hand come through at 1:30 through the nets, which frightened the life out of her.
Whereabouts was that?
That was the main Bisingwood Road one. Had that, but St Stephen's Close lady, her daughter contacted with me at the weekend because she's had her door kicked. They just keep kick at the door. Police response isn't good enough because as I said to him, he said we're just so stretched. He said Sittingbourne, Sheppey, etc. Time they come down to us, they've gone. And he said there's just not the resources to do it. He said he'll drive up there and speak to the residents. I mean, he's.
I know the Youth Club were looking to start going out doing some outreach work.
Yes, well, when I was on Faversham Town Council, I banged on, did I not, about outreach, and it was part of their contract. And according to Rob, who sits on the Town Council, they said there was no benefit from it. But there is, because if they could talk to those groups.
Yeah, no,
I'm not really sure anyone said that at town council, just to.
So I'm not on it, so I can
Yeah,
only
sure.
say what's told to me.
It does also extend, you talked about Bisingwood Road, but that is now extending from Bisingwood Road across Wells Way and down the footpath to Lakeside Avenue.
I think there was a lady there from your ward, Priory Road, that came and spoke as well.
Yeah.
Because she had the same problem. So it's now.
And it is always the Friday night.
It's
It's not
Friday.
stretched into other nights.
Friday night is the worst night. I'm not saying it's not other nights, but Friday night is notorious. And they can be for the whole time. I mean, from Puffer State was this week's, and this lady actually got a CTV camera. And she got a really good side view of one of them in white trousers, such as probably had white trousers. And they distributed it to the schools, but the Abbey hasn't come back, the QE hasn't come back. The two youth groups say they don't recognise. So, but that's not to say that they are at the Abbey or the grammar school. They could be from Sittingbourne or they could be Canterbury schools, because Faversham use all the schools. But it's just disappointing that those and the police sent them to the schools. They just haven't responded.
But I can say, I mean, we're obviously aware as a collective of those issues. That particular concern.
Yeah.
Right?
And-
Anything else?
Yes, Terry had rural flight to the
main points. I think, yeah, Chelsea, yeah, but, yeah, that's kind of, really fancy. It's confrontations. Should add.
Oh, something else, okay.
We talked about ASB as well, a similar picture across Faversham and a slightly different version of events in Tennant where there's spate of shoplifting, which is obviously very bad for the shops, but difficult for the staff in that shop as well. And the kind of feeling that the reporting it to the police is a waste of time and potentially poses some risk to the individuals. And so, what work we can do around changing.
That's the shop staff that feel that wrong.
But there were separate examples, but yeah. Real police aren't going to come, they're certainly not going to get to Tennant in a timely manner. So what is the point of reporting it? If there's some risk of blowback from you reporting it, what's the incentive? So there's some challenges around that. Talked a little bit about the linking of these incidents into our licensing and planning rules and outputs. So how do we join that up? So actually, if we are seeing consistent problems in a specific place, should we be looking at licenses around that area and how that comes up and whether we're doing that? And then a little bit around communication across departments, partnerships, back to local members. It might well be that a local member, Councillor Jackson, reports something to the proper authorities and it goes through a different partnership. And how does that feedback come back to us?
Yeah.
So we've told the police tell somebody else that somebody else is doing something. They may or may not tell the police what their follow-up is, but the police then can't come to us with this kind of the second round of feedback. So how that
Yeah.
partnership feedback works.
Yeah, and we've had a similar comment from one of the other area committees around that, so that's certainly something we can look at. In terms of the licensing planning elements, certainly when we become aware of a location-based problem, the licensing element we would look at. I mean, I know we look at Babsham waiting up, sort of certainly Queenborough as an example, we've done quite a lot of work in the last sort of year or so because the area, like the issues have been kind of quite intertwined with the licensing problems. And again, certainly with Babsham Town Centre, whenever anything becomes apparent, it might be linked to a licensed premises, we would tie that in. So that hopefully is sort of covered off. Again, feedback around the police and responsiveness is something I've heard from all. We will feed back through this route as well. Anything else from your group?
Can I just raise about the 101? Because they keep on trying on this 101 and they said it's so long-winded and then it'll cut out and you're told to go online and then it'll cut out again. And they said that's why they've now got fed up with reporting online.
And I think 101 issues, I think, kind of ebbed and flowed over the years, haven't they? I think that's quite a recent article to say that actually 101's not great. The police are obviously aware of that. I mean, the beat officers at the moment, they're not operating under that model with the full number of officers that should be. Hopefully, once those numbers are where they need to be, those roles will be a lot more responsive for local residents as well. Obviously, there is the online reporting tool that can be done for anything that's not urgent. But yeah, I think again, if you get things come back to you about 101, at least sort of through the partnership work, we can at least try and have those conversations in place. This is sort of, as I mentioned at the beginning, I suppose, in terms of next steps with this priority setting process, the partnership's next meeting is now the 2nd of February, where we'll pull together all sort of this feedback from members, feedback from partners, data, etc., to actually confirm to be, and then by the end of March, we'll form our new community safety plan with the action plan that will underpin that, and I'll get that sort of circulated to members in the weekly dispatch that goes out. Don't know if anyone's got any other comments or questions for me?
I suppose I've got a comment from Chair in that Babsham Town Council a year ago, and there's still quite high levels of domestic violence in Babsham. It's like 1 in 5 crimes in Babsham is domestic violence related. So it's good to see it as a priority. And it's a huge rotating in a really good way, but it would be good to kind of keep that very much on the radar because it's.
I don't think it's like.
I mean, yeah, it would be nice to drop off the radar, but yeah, it's still something that I speak to residents about quite regularly. Yeah, does anyone online have anything they wanted to add to any conversation that we've had with the staff and the community partnership? If there is anything that comes up while we're chatting, just pop it in the chat box and we can pass it over to Steph. Great, thank you, Steph.
Thank you very much.
Okay, agenda point 9 is, oh wait, I've gone whole. 7. Thank you. So we're now going to speak about the Solihull and Green Street Conservation Area reviews. I would like to introduce Jamil Kishore, who's the Senior Conservation and Design Officer, who will give an update on the conservation area reviews, and then there will be a small Q&A session afterwards, if that's. Sure.
Yeah, please. Thank you.
Thank you. So the Solihull and Green Street Conservation Area Character Appraisal and Management Strategy has been out for public consultation, and we've we've extended it today to up to 2nd of January because we really want people to respond to it and get more feedback from the residents. Next slide. It was originally designated by Swain Borough Council in November 2000, and it contained a brief character appraisal describing the area. And this is the first time since 2000 that a full review has been undertaken where the boundaries of the conservation area have also been questioned and looked at in detail. The conservation area was added to the Historic England Heritage at Risk Register in 2013, and the register noted its condition as poor, its vulnerability as low, and its trend as deteriorating. And that was primarily because of the London Road. It's a busy road, the high street was severely impacted, and that was the main reason why it has been on the Heritage at Risk Register. Through the proposed boundary changes that have been put forward, if you look on the map, so A, B, C, and D are the areas where the boundary of the property has been looked at in detail, and that needs to be included within the conservation area, because the current conservation area line cuts through the boundary, cuts through the curtilage of the property. So that is just a simple tidying up exercise, so to speak. Boundary change E is to include the hedgerow, which forms the west side of Cellar Hill. And that's considered an important feature of the conservation area. And so it's proposed that that hedgerow be included within the boundary. And the final one is boundary change F, which is to include numbers 4 and 6 Station Road. And because they are considered to be of local merit, and it would be quite good to have them within the conservation area, and they're on the top corner of the map there. We go to the next slide, please. Now we have members of the parish council and local historians who were very kind to give us that time, and they also highlighted this area along London Road, which is west of the current conservation area, and we were asked to look at whether this should be included in the conservation areas, so to speak, extend the boundary. Now, when Peter Bell undertook the assessment, he felt that that area has unique character in its own right, and it should be a separate conservation area. However, Historic England has responded to the consultation, and they want us to include it within the current conservation area. So we do need to go back and look at it and make a decision whether it is worth including in the current conservation area. And the green circle is basically the highlight of that whole street. And there are quite a few listed buildings along that stretch, and even the buildings across it, which are not listed, are of certain merit. There are surviving features, and it does form quite an interesting part of the high street, which is deteriorating because of lack of designation, because of it being a busy road. So we do need to go back and look at it in terms of whether we extend it, include it within the current conservation area, or keep it separate. Next slide, please. So public consultation has been extended to conclude on 2nd of January. As of today, we've received 4 responses, 2 from local residents, 1 from parish council, my mistake, and 1 from Historic England. And we are hoping to present it to Policy and Resources Committee on 7th of February, and we should have the final adopted document published on the website by Easter of 2024. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So don't have any questions?
Sorry,
Councillor Speed.
Yeah, I think, I couldn't quite see, but, I think my son lives in the oval bit of London Road. So I won't duck out, but I'll shut up on it.
All right. Councillor Speed.
Thank you. This conservation area sits in my ward and the majority of it sits in my parish as well. We discussed this at our parish meeting last night and we're very happy to support this report. It documents very well the eclectic mix of traditional building styles and vernacular building materials that we have in Solihull, which we call the area's history and development. And it also notes the historic relationship between the village and the surrounding farmland and orchards. The statements in section 2.6 notes the importance of spatial considerations to planning applications, which are particularly important in an area like Solihull. We're pleased to see that it draws heavily on the listed parish design statement, which is adopted as supplementary planning guidance to guide planning applications in the area. We support the recommendation that the Borough Council invokes an Article 4 direction to bring certain householder alterations that are currently permitted development under planning control, because there have been a number of inappropriate alterations to houses and we want those positively managed through the planning process. One point we have made in our response is that an essential component of any conservation area management strategy is an effective enforcement regime to prioritise heritage conservation, and we feel that our council should be far more robust in taking enforcement action against unauthorised alterations to buildings, particularly where listed building consent has not been obtained, and there have been examples of that. We support the minor extensions to the current conservation area as itemised at A to F. We are very keen to see the conservation area extended further west. We know that in the report it's recommended that that's a separate review, but that was news to me that historically suggested that maybe you look at incorporating it within this conservation area. We think there's a strong argument for it being one extended conservation area rather than a separate one. So just to hear your further thoughts on that. But in essence, the report concludes that Solihull and Green Street is an area of special architectural and historical interest, and its character and appearance should be preserved, and support the recommendation that this remains designated special area.
That's good.
Can I just ask, in terms of consultation, given the relatively low number of responses so far, are we looking at doing, or have we considered doing, any direct outreach to the properties affected, particularly these new ones? Because that is, guess at that map, 20 to 30 householders who at the moment are not under the restrictions, who would be potentially placed under restrictions, which I think probably would be for the best. And it's a good thing for the town, but will have a direct impact on their some of the personal choices available to them. So they perhaps need a stronger prompt, say, part of the consultation than regular neighbours.
Yeah, that's a very pertinent point, because when we start public consultation for any conservation area, we do send out letters to all the householders and all the businesses and everybody who's going to be affected. And in this scenario, these guys would not have received a letter, and that is something we need to go back to, have an internal discussion and decide how do we go about it. Do we extend it now, go through the process again, So we need to have that bit of internal discussion. Because if we're going to extend it all the way to that, then that might mean another set of consultation and then not going to Policy and Resources Committee in February and maybe delaying that. So we do need to have that discussion within the next 2 days.
Sorry to put more work on that before Christmas.
But yes, that is a very, very important point, yes.
Can I just come back on that, because I'm aware there's only been 2 members of the public responded so far. The parish council literally published its response today, last night, and residents quite often find it difficult to engage with these consultations because they're quite, and they're not quite sure how to respond them. They do rely on the parish council submissions to give them some guidance and some ideas. So now that we have our response, and it's one of the reasons I asked for the consultation to be extended. Because our response that we do today, during the week before Christmas, people probably won't get around to it this week. So it's been so people could between Christmas and the New Year. I will be publicising on social media that this consultation is.
Any more questions or comments? Thank you, Chair, for taking the time out to speak to us about. Okay, agenda point 8. Janet, you are going to update us on the enhanced bus partnership.
Yes. Right, so you will have read in the report pack, starting at page 5, a report which explains that the Quality Bus Partnership is being replaced by the Enhanced Bus Partnership Swale Local Focus Group. And we're looking this evening for nominations for one member of this area committee to sit on this group as the Eastern Area Committee representative. Each area committee has nominated one representative. So we're looking this evening to the Eastern Area Committee representative. Can I ask if there are any nominations for this position? Yes, with the planning working group. Yes, that's right.
Can I ask a question? Purely because a lot of working groups are working on this at the moment. Is this going to be another one that's going to be working out?
It is, yes. I don't.
But I don't mind representing the Eastern Area.
That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be more than happy with that.
We have a proposer to second to this.
Yeah, I mean, if you're already there, it makes sense, doesn't it? For you to... Great. Thanks, Alistair.
Can I just say, I'm slightly worried about this, in terms of officers rather than members spending a lot of time on something which isn't going to get us anywhere. Because the worrying thing to me is that the government has announced that there's quite a chunky piece of money here, but it's all capital. And if it needs a bit of revenue help to get the bus service running, that's not allowed. So I just wonder whether we're all going to spend our time getting nowhere.
I mean, I think very much the first year, officers and members will see how this goes.
Yeah.
It's very much this Swale local focus group will be the conduit rather than leading on actions and so on. And it will be the main officer who will be working on this will be the Director of Regeneration and Neighbourhoods. It's not going to be a minuted group like this. It is going to be just a working group that sort of allows everybody to come together to speak, but very much so it will be to see how this first year goes, the first 2 meetings go over the first year, and then possibly making any changes if that's not necessary the following year.
So I understand.
Yeah, I've noticed those references. Does anyone else have anything they want to say around the main issues of bus services in the Eastern area? Just this will be then fed back to the focus group at the end of January.
Is this bus services in general?
Yeah, so
Well, I mean, it's like appalling. I mean, I've got a lot of people 80 odd living up Ospringe Road. They feel like they're prisoners. About 10 to 10, maybe even later. There's a 2-hour gap. So they can't go to Canterbury. They can't do anything. And they've got to catch that bus and be back home by a certain time. And it's too far for them to walk. And they said, you know, out of their pension to pay for a taxi, we seem to be cut off on that side.
On the road business.
This is Lower Ospringe Road, all of those roads round that way, go Limefield, St Nicholas, all up round that area.
Was that area previously covered by
It was previously
Do
covered
you know when
by
it
us.
finished?
When all the bus cuts came into Faversham. It used to go up to Benstead House, Kelm Court. There used to be about every half an hour. There used to be one and straight through to Canterbury as well. But it's all gone now. There's just 2 a day. None in the evenings, none in the afternoons. I think it's 2 o'clock. So that's
the problems involved with bypass together. I think the problem is that bus services get to that question that we're actually unreliable and this is not far off. Those issues. Well, this is difficult. Services is that
Yeah.
Once you make those arrangements.
Have any other comments further? Yeah, Councillor.
On the funding, so the funds that go to CTC actually paying the schemes. Is that the whole of Kent?
Understanding it's sort of whole of Kent.
It's so when it says yeah, of course, to me none of those allocations. But here,
I don't know. I can find out and look at that.
but they say what their capital investments are.
That I don't know. I'll find out more detail.
almost.
I don't know the detail particularly for Eastern, but in order to get the funding, they had to have submitted a plan and a bid, so it will be detailed. So we'll try and find out where that plan was published and make you aware, Terry.
I think there was also, I think it's got. So, yeah, we can send it out.
Do I not recall that there was a discussion about it at P&R?
There was, yeah.
Yeah.
So have we made representation on that?
Yeah.
Anyone else for any more services? I suppose I have one which has been recently raised with me by residents in terms of the change to family hubs within the county and the change of potential use of the children's centres, is that the bus that goes to Bisingwood from town only allows 2 pushchairs at a time. So if people are wanting to travel from the other end of town to Bisingwood, 2 pushchairs is not a lot if you're using that as your main kind of children's centre hub. So I think that's something we need to kind of keep an eye on. Yeah, I think that's the whole situation, but that's something that's definitely going to be important.
Sorry. Presumably that's the same bus that isn't
No.
running, it's different route.
Different route altogether. That bus that you're talking about goes through Bisingwood up through,
Yeah.
Hazelbrook that way.
Oh, that-
Mine is totally different. It's Osprey's Road
No, that,
up by the ship
mine
and
was
Lower
understanding.
Road, St Nick's Linefield.
Yeah, is that the one that goes through? It goes through town and then up.
Yeah, and that's more regular.
Yeah.
They've got them to sitting room everywhere. It's just that area where I'm.
It's Councillor.
It was only London again.
No buses.
Hang on a minute, Councillor Johnson.
That's all right. It was only that we wondered if there's any allocated funds for rural ones that they've lost.
Yeah.
So they asked Parish Council, is there? Us.
Sure. Another resident has also raised the lack of connectivity between all functions.
Yeah, that was the one I was
Oh, sorry.
Nothing from all North Preston, Thousand Lakes, and Lakeside Avenue. East side above that.
That's pretty employable, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, push on.
This is see that those areas are actually on proposed community bus route. So hopefully, in the first quarter of next year, we'll get search running. Obviously, it's only going to be one bus, so this town function, town loop, I think, could be hourly. Which is slightly less.
You might tell me no, but I wonder whether it's worth having somebody from the town council on that feed into that focus group.
I think that the mechanism would be to feed into the representative, committee representative rather than.
So are you happy to have a conversation with the route and stuff?
As we said, as we use that.
Not to my knowledge, I think it's going to be the end of January, beginning of February was the last time. Yeah, I can check.
Regarding bus service, Town Council approached the parish councils in the parishes that would benefit from this to make a contribution towards the running costs of something in the region of £500 a year. My parish council has with the other parish councils put some money in.
It's not a question that I know. Do you know, Bob?
Three, yes. So, I don't know. Let's say 3 on. So 2 have. Yeah, so I think it needs something. Yeah, yes, sorry, 2 have. And confirmation or.
Right. So that's good to know. Fabulous. Any more on services? Thank you, Councillor Goldberg. Oh, yeah.
What's the young people? What's planned to be used?
It's a Sprinter, so it can be up to 17 seats, but because it wanted to include
Thank you. Thank you for being there.
Obviously, if it becomes successful, then we obviously look to upgrade the vehicle, because we do have a flexible lease.
Yeah.
Not bound to have that vehicle for 3 years. So, it's get a bigger vehicle.
How many drivers?
Yeah, I was just saying, we've got 6 volunteers, and they're all sort of a range of people, so from school teacher, 2 former bus drivers, people with experience driving large vehicles, they've all got the requisite licenses. Then on mileage training, which learn how to load a wheelchair safely. I am looking ideally for another 2 or 3 volunteers. You can't insist that they're going to be bound to those sites. It's going to be a slightly. Just 3 would be ideal.
So, I mean, as councillors, we can all be part of pushing that message out, can't we? That another couple of people would be helpful.
Yeah.
It's great to hear that like 6 people have come forward. That's really kind, isn't it, with their time?
London Hire. Waiting for our vehicle, a spare vehicle we can use, and I'm hoping to get that parked in Marketplace on some market days. Got some banners, and I'll get some of the volunteer drivers who have come forward also agree. Grab people displaying these. Yes. Rather than just rely on social media.
Yeah, great. And I think that's important, isn't it? Because a lot of the people that potentially might benefit from the bus service might not necessarily be social media users. Thanks everyone, that's been really helpful. Any more before we move on to agenda point 9? So agenda point 9 is flooding in the eastern area. At the last meeting, Councillor Williams had agreed to be the lead for this particular matter for the Eastern Area Committee. Obviously, he is no longer with us. He's not. That sounds like who's there. The other area committee members who'd like to take the lead on this particular matter. I've been doing work on this anyway, so I'm happy to take it on should no one else want to. But if anyone's got a burning desire to take it on, then please do.
I've spoken to Charles at all, but he has taken over from Chris, and is likely to have a close contact with you, being in the same ward, and that to me would be a good potential. I mean, there are problems in Priory Ward, there are problems in Abbey Ward, there are problems in some problems in Watling, and some problems in St Anne's. So
Yeah.
we've got to cover the whole area.
Yeah, sure. And the report that I've written that you should all have has been a part of kind of collecting everybody's feedback from after the following meeting, after the previous meeting, and also I did a couple of posts where the public have fed back some problem spots as well, which kind of go right the way across the area. So that was really positive. I mean, Councillor Gibson, you've kind of been semi-nominated.
I'm happy to have. I mean, Mike declared an interest for a tangential region. I should say I do park my car on Church Road often under 6 inches of water quite a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So that is, it annoys me. It is not a peculiar interest. It is annoying.
Well, I mean, I'm absolutely happy not to do it. So if you're happy to, I'm happy to second you. Is everyone happy with that? Can we just raise hands? Great, thank you.
Needs to be that members in each of the eastern area wards need to help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cover the whole thing.
Yeah, and that's kind of what happened after the previous meeting. I know that basically everyone in the room has sent me something to include support. So that's helpful. Thanks, Councillor Gibson. Apologies, you did send that to me. Yeah, I'll put that on, no problem.
Yes, I had a couple of additional.
Great, well, I'll pop them over to councillor
Yeah.
Gibson and myself, and I can send councillor Gibson the copy of the risks that I've put together, so that's not a problem. And yeah, thanks, councillor Jackson. Did you want to read forward me the Curtis Swain one, just so that I've got it? That'd be helpful.
Will do.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so did you want to have a we can do to take this issue forward? There is an update on matters arising, which we could wait until we've got to that section, because there's some updates on that. Is everyone happy just to park that until the matters arising? Okay, agenda point 10, public forum. So, Mr. Taylor, you are a solo representative from the public. There are there's that time limit of 20 minutes for this item. I don't know if you want to consult for something about 20 minutes, but yeah. But please do ask away.
Well, I can come here to talk about this specific thing I just mentioned.
Yeah.
Talking about antisocial behaviour.
Yeah.
I've lived in parish for 35 years, and really, basically, Kent and Staveley decided to withdraw from the streets because their agenda seems to lie elsewhere. Quotation. Hence, there's a direct correlation between that and the current increase in antisocial behaviour. I'll leave it there as far as that's concerned, because this problem directly results from that. There's no policing on the streets, which we pay out council tax money towards. We're going to get these sort of problems. And until the police decide to change their current policy, have more localised policing, then you're going to get an increase in these kinds of problems. And I think that's an issue that's probably goes on somewhere else, digital part decline. You might say it's a British way of life, but that's why it is there. But that's what's actually happening. So you'll just see more of it until the police go back on the streets. And if the Kent and Staveley can't get the finance for more police back on the streets, perhaps councils should start employing sheriffs like they do in the USA and their own local police. Leave it there on that. And just another thing on that, regarding the recreation grounds, after all the millions spent there 2 or 3 years ago, the one problem that still plagues the recreation ground is poor lighting. There's just one footpath across there with KCC owned street lamps, the footpath that runs from Park Road up to past the Rotary Club. So, there's a bit of lighting that comes down from the, where they take these steps for street, but there's no lighting. And, that just encourages antisocial behaviour to emanate there and move out. So, all that money spent, they couldn't be bothered to put some lighting. That's how we bad decisions. Anyway, I'll finish on that. So flooding. In this list, this is the one that we haven't seen that today. You mentioned all the areas where flooding incidents are occurring. Right, the reported surface water flooding risk, obviously Whitstable Road, which I've talked about before. By the bus stop further along the road, those gullies have been blocked for ages. KCC folks cleanse them, or if they do, they fill up again and block up. And that's the whole issue with KCC about withdrawing finance to carry out reasonable street works. Church Road and Orchard Place. Yeah, lots of flooding problems. Just wanted to point out that they're all interconnected, Whitstable Road, Church Road, Orchard Place, because the surface water sewers, if you like, to the west, if I'm standing in the wreck, looking at the Tin Church, the surface water sewers to the west of the Tin Church, for some historical anomaly, belong to KCC. That's sewers in the highway. I'm not just talking about road gullies, I'm talking about the physical sewers that connect to the road gullies. Elsewhere in the parish, and all those sort of large surface water sewers belong to Southern Water. So this historical anomaly, I don't know why KCC own. And the problem is that the storm overflow that's at the head of Cypress Road outside the church, in certain levels of rainfall, between about 25 and 30 to 40 millimetres, the combined storm overflow comes into action, then dumps all excess mixed surface water, foul flow directly into the creek. So what happens? That combined sewer overflow is effectively a choke point on anything upstream, and that's why you get really serious flooding problems along the Whitstable Road, and it backs up into Orchard Place and into Church Road, because the whole system is absolutely full up. It's got nowhere else to go. There's only so much of it can pass through the combined sewer overflow. Now that problem's been known about since at least going back to the early 90s. Southern Water are more than aware of it. They've got flow monitoring equipment on these things. So that problem is going to go on occurring. Since KCC spent that money last year, this year, and put those additional highway gates in, the system's not been fully, because we haven't had the rainfall intensity. We haven't got to look back at the rainfall figures. So if you get the right sort of rainfall, then Whitstable Road will flood up again. Then you'll see problems in Orchard Place and in Church Road. It's all interconnected. So the problem with all this is that KCC, who own the sewers, their sewers actually flow in to the dedicated surface water and combined sewer in Cypress Road, which is so. As far as KCC are concerned, well, they say, "Oh, well, our problem ends where our sewers meet the Southern Water sewers." It comes back to this problem being a Southern Water problem, which it has been for the past 40, 50 years, because Whitstable Road's always flooded. But nobody in all this time can ever get Southern Water around the table to advise them of their responsibilities. The problem's not going to go away, it hasn't gone away. There's other areas mentioned there, Tanner Street, Falls Road's always flooded. Again, it's all part of the symptom of the same thing, probably, but we've just got it added to take all this rainfall. And there was one area mentioned, which I'll just go on to. I'm not going to go into all those other areas that are mentioned, but obviously they all need looked at by somebody. But probably a lot of it, the crux of the problem probably relies on Southern Water somewhere down the line. But they're not part of the discussion everyone never seen it. And just Southern Water live in some sort of big palace somewhere and aren't interested in what's going on. It's their agendas to pay their shareholders and not sort out. And what are we entitled? We pay enough money. Right, we're entitled. One of the fundamental things is to have decent drainage and sewage disposal in this modern age, and we're not getting it. The Victorians knew that, and they built sewers when they needed them, but there's no finance to do that anymore. So we've got an increasing town, you're going to get more problems. There's one of the things mentioned there, this flooding, Staples Street conjunction with the new Memorial Crematorium. Obviously that happened in November in the local press. The flooding was happening because of the pond that's next to the Staples Street junction would turn into a crematorium. Crematorium have decided to send all their surface water from their development into that pond, and that pond's overflowing as a result. And everyone at Swale Council is aware of that, because in September, application 22/5055852 SU/SUB, dated the 28th of the 9th, 2023. It was refused. That's the date of refusal. And that, by the way, that was condition 14 for surface water drainage. So it was refused. And if you look at the correspondence in there, I think KCC Highways and Drainage were predicting there would be flooding if they were allowed to connect in their surface water drainage. And what happens? That's exactly what happened in November. So all I would ask is in regards to that, Swallow Council clearly passed the original application. They then subsequently refused this condition 14. So that, to the layman out there, and I say that I'm the layman, that tells me that the Memorial Crematorium are in breach of the planning application. If somebody wants to tell me otherwise. So the question is, what is Swallow Borough Council going to do about it? So,
sorry, can I just ask what you mean by refusing a condition? Because it's the Borough Council which imposes the condition. And therefore, if the overall application is agreed with that condition, then it can't be refused, it's there.
well, it says that it's been refused, so that means the memorial is in breach of that condition then. Vision of the problem. I mean, the problem's been sorted because I think KCC went down there and did something. The pond drains under the highway to somewhere across the other side of the road, probably a drainage ditch. And maybe down there with those huge jetty tankers, big yellow ones. So I think the problem's been solved in that respect because the outlet has been cleansed. But the fact is that the crematorium facility is still putting stormwater directly into that pond, and that seems to be in breach of planning.
So that's something.
Could we talk to planning about that?
Yeah, I think that would be perfectly sensible, wouldn't it? Because I don't know enough about that particular planning application to comment really, but I think we could definitely ask officers for an update on it.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is one of these things, and again, the reason I flagged this, because I've been constantly on about all these housing developments and how they add to the overall problem of foul sewage and stormwater flooding in Barisham. And this is, we get into this grey area, these applications get passed, and then there's all sorts of conditions laid down, and then it all seems to go off into the ether until a flooding problem actually happens. This is just one example of what's going on elsewhere in Barisham. And I profess not to understand the system. I don't know that. I'm just saying that as a layperson. So that all needs looking at, right? But I would specifically ask that question. I mean, for instance, should they be saying to the crematorium that you can't use your facility? Should you shut it down?
So I think that's a question. All of those are questions for the planning department. I'm happy to take those away and give you an update on it. Just on the that you raised, because they're in my ward, as you know. Weirdly, so myself and Councillor Gibson and Councillor Rowlands dug out the drains on Whitstable Road so that we could show them where they were, because they're so silted that you literally couldn't see that there was a drain there. So we dug them out and we reported it. This week they came out and put cones out, just the gullies were going to be jetted 12, and then the cones are gone, but nothing has happened to the gullies. So it's something to find out what's happened. My thoughts are they've come out to think it's a simple gully cleanse. Actually, there's probably a ton of mud in between each drain because it hasn't been cleared for such a long time. And when we went to go and look at it, we couldn't even poke through the top of the grates. It's so impacted.
Sorry,
so the big ones, you know, the ones that you mentioned up at the top of Whitstable Road by the bus stops,
right,
on either side. So that's kind of ongoing with KCC, and it's very much I said to the highways department, actually, you know, this isn't a quick. You're not going to be able to jet that. That's going to need.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
the physical highway gullies and their connecting pipes belong to KCC at that end. We're on the eastern side now, so I'm standing in the back looking at the tin church. To the eastern side of Cyprus Road junction. The surface water sewers there actually belong to Southern Water.
Yeah.
But the physical gullies and the connecting pipes between those gullies and the main surface water sewer, they belong to KCC.
Yeah.
So if the gullies are blocked, then that's down to KCC.
Yeah, and they've said that that's absolutely their responsibility.
But there's another problem there. If you look at the Southern Water Services asset map, you'll find that the surface water sewer along Whitstable Road between the end of Cyprus Road and probably the railway bridge is only 150 millimetre diameter.
Yeah.
So it's woefully inadequate. And that's why the gullies block up. So
Yeah.
because the flow just can't get away, so they're settled.
Yeah, and in lots of ways, that's because we've gone down and cleared the leaves off and the water has got down. A lot of the time it's just that leaves have fallen off the trees at this time of year, and then that stops the water going through the drainage. The drainage is there and it works effectively, but a lot of the time it's just silted up a bit like a with the recreation ground, I don't know if you wanted to come in on the lighting. I know I was on the steering group 5 years when they were doing some regeneration work, and a lot of the argument around lighting is that it is a very big green space in the middle of town, which is actually quite important for a lot of habitat, and lighting can really disrupt bat flying, it can disrupt birds and other kind of creatures that use the recreation ground. So there was some discussion about, you know, where the lighting should go to make it easy enough for people to walk across there, but not at the same time protect that for animals and for nature.
And I can appreciate that, but the reality is a recreation ground.
It's dark.
The recreation ground, there's always, I mean, when all that money was spent, a lot of it went on the lodge building, I gather. But the recreation ground layout wasn't really radically altered. They spent a lot of money laying nice tarmac footpaths, you know, over what was there. But those sort of access roads are a bit unusual for the park. You normally just have footpaths.
Yeah.
So you've got sort of wide, almost road-like structures running through the park, and that's where people are going to walk.
Yeah.
But there's no lighting. So, you know, if you want people, I mean, why shouldn't the person go out in the evening? It's cold winter nights if they want to get some exercise, you know, but there's no lighting. So you're making it immediately. Nobody wants to go and walk there because it's not a very nice environment.
Do you want to come?
Yeah, no, happy to, and really interesting comments. So my team were the teams that led that heritage restoration project, so got some good oversight of that. And I think you're talking about the tree-lined avenues ultimately, which were really critical parts of the heritage of the park. So that's why they were given that protection basis and it improved in order to do that. So you're right, those areas aren't lit, have never historically been lit either. And what we focused on was very much, obviously at the time, the top end where the lodge was a real very dark area, and so we focused a lot of the project work around lighting the lodge up and creating more security around that, because that was being targeted from a vandalism point of view. And obviously we focused on the diagonal path that is from the Long Bridge down to the Park Road corner ultimately.
But that's KCC highway.
No, they're Swale Borough Council lights. What I would say at the moment is the council is going through a fairly major project of replacing as many of our lights as possible with LED replacements. Obviously, much better for the environment, lower cost of operating. And once we've done that, we will then be able to go out to our spaces and assess where there might be capacity for more. So what we did, £1.9 million on a heritage project, sounds a lot of money, but it doesn't buy you a lot these days. And so we had a whole long list of things we were going to have in the project. and clearly couldn't achieve all of that, but certainly hopefully that explains the lighting was the focus on the diagonal area and on opening up that top end to improve the
Well,
security.
So can I just say, I mean, there's always been lighting across the diagonal path.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know whether they put new posts up or put new lanterns on.
Yeah.
Because the old ones were constantly vandalised or never seemed to be working, basically, as there has been. But given all that money that was spent, right, what was it about? Nice fancy railings, I think Swale Borough Council financed. So again, you've improved the place, but you should, people you're actually blocking off to a lot of residents because it's too dark.
So we can definitely add that after the big light bulb change has happened, somewhere that's been raised as a potential area.
Yeah.
Councillor Henderson.
Yeah, I just want to put this in a bit more context. Couple of £1 million, as Martin said, actually don't go very far with a project. And there was a lot of consultation before that project was done about what we could best spend the money on. And for good or ill, and you will get different people with different views, it was decided not to put lights where they hadn't been before. I personally think that was the right thing to do, because you talk about it not being used because it's too dark. Well, it is true, it's dark from 4 o'clock until 4 o'clock in the afternoon until now about 7:30 in the morning. But it's also raining half the time, and there are other things which keep people away from the wreck, which basically is and wind and cold and so on. It is light the rest of the day, even in winter, and it is light from about 5 in the morning till 9 at night through the summer. And if you put 10 people in a room to discuss that, you get 10 different opinions about what we should have done with the recreation ground. But it's done, and there we are. If you then look at another area where about £1 million was spent, we got a heritage lottery for the Gunpowder Works. Virtually no lights there at all. And that is extremely popular in terms of people going for walks, people going bird watching or plant watching and anything else watching, and so on. So you can look at any project and always have a view that we should have done something else.
Can I just say that?
Mr. Taylor, with all due respect, 20 minutes is well past. So we're just we're gonna move on if that's okay. I've got a number of things that I can feed back to you. Have your email address, happy to do that. And also thank you for coming.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, so so you have a Matters and Rising report. Is there anything that anybody wants to raise? That's yeah.
Right. I have once more in response for Whiting present. I will not let it drop, which the residents. Also, the fact of the Brickfield has a lot of new young families, and it's quite difficult for them to say it's within 10 to 15 minutes. Got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, 'cause we're only talking about young children, not older children. So I still want that to not be forgotten, to be put back on the agenda. A little bit of an update on item 8, about the house in South Road, which has been going on for years. I think Swale Council have been informed by Sally, the next door neighbour, who informed me about 3 weeks ago the bailiffs have now gone into that house. So hopefully Swale will get the money back that where they've had the work done on the property, come back. So the other day, and there's been no further update, but she said the bailiffs definitely went in.
Any other questions? Do you have another?
Whether or not Councillor Jackson would like me to give a very similar reply. All I would say is no change on our position in terms of how we set a criteria for where a playground goes. All I would say is the Eastern Area Committee the right place to be raised? Duties, obviously, Community Committee is in charge of the playground development programme. There will be a report in early 2024 around our plans for the next 3 or 4 years of playground developments, and so that may well be a better opportunity to raise this. I don't want to be totally
I spoke to Ashley and he said, just keep on, keep on.
So I suppose, I mean, do you want to keep it on the agenda for the next meeting and speak to the Community Committee in the middle?
Yes.
I think Martin's right in that there's probably more effective ways of raising it.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to, what we can do is we can keep it on the agenda, and if you've heard from the Community Committee in the meantime, then we can just take it off next time and be happy with that.
I've got 4 years.
Great. Any more for any questions or comments on the matters arising reports? Yeah. To move on to the next agenda point then. Great. Agenda point 12, local issues to be raised. Does anyone have any local issues they want to raise on behalf of their residents? Yeah.
Is there anything that comes up around light pollution, basic roads?
Can you, sorry, I might just be me. Can you explain what you mean?
Well, basically driving down the road, someone's
Yeah.
put some very bright white lights in their house.
Right.
Saying, shine at you, which you can't. So you think it's a car, it's not. It's just very, very open in the house. So I wondered.
Yeah, there's an example, Hannah, if you come down Leslie Smith Drive out onto South Road, I don't know what up to date what it's like, because I've been driving, but last summer there was an intensely bright light on the Vets building, which shone straight up Leslie Smith Drive, so you can see where you were going to get out. And you're right. I could give you 10 more examples.
I wonder whether
around
there's a
the
policy.
town.
I don't know.
I have no idea, but we'll take it away. I would imagine if it's out on the highway, then I'm fairly certain KCC will have some sort of guidance on that, or whether it's a planning issue from the resident. Yeah, I don't know, but we can find out.
It seems to have been since the advent of LEDs, cheap lighting. And light pollution has increased in rural areas. lights up there do they match? And it's.
I think we've probably all come across it when we've been driving,
Yeah.
when we come round and we think there's a car coming.
Yeah.
Whether and then some of them are blue lights and others aren't they, with random colours. So it's definitely something that's increasing. But
So we've got a couple of questions from planning anyway. So should we add it to the list of things we need to ask them about? Because if you, I think we'll probably need to ask KCC as well. Amazing. Any other local issues that you want to raise?
Yeah.
Okay.
Councillor, can you make sure you get any trends or issues through to me and my team? So we can help you out as much as possible.
I didn't hear that.
We might send it on the.
Probably fix my screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty good, it does go through, doesn't it? It's frustrating, doesn't it?
It does. It's not what I would promote. I would always try and get you to use our website forms for reporting. Only reason being is at the moment, Fix My Street doesn't integrate with our customer services software, and so therefore they have to manually. So from a transformation, we wouldn't not deal with it if it comes in, but wherever possible, try and promote the Swale website for reporting those things, because it then integrates directly into our software. It means it gets through to BIFA as the contract than it would if it was through the website.
Does the Swale website have the same sort of usability?
No, absolutely not. Yet. But it's coming.
Yeah.
It's not unfriendly, I would say. It's not as friendly as Fix My Street, but it's not unhelpful.
No.
It is reasonably working.
Could we put in the minutes just some links to like different places on the website that you can report?
Because it doesn't do KCC, does it anymore? Fix My Street.
No, KCC, but I think.
For the same. So it's, it's fine. We've got to work around. It's just working on a whole new forms package that will have more ingenuity in being able to pinpoint your location and photos and various other. It's in the work programme.
Allow that to be your issue. Without compliance. Revamp the system. Yeah, system. Areas of this is the way of private. Once done, and then with a really strong student initiative, they make it complex and zero. Everything has value. It does.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously complicated by the fact that we're in a unitary authority, so the problem of fly tipping runs across two areas really. So you've got KCC as the disposal authority that up until very recently have been charging for the disposal of commercial and DIY waste and things like that. That's going to stop because the government have realised that that is potentially having a correlation with fly tipping where people have been charging waste sites. So as much as that creates further problems for the county, it's probably some more benefits for the residents. So it's a really interesting model. I'd love to get to zero fly. Because it costs Swale as well as Kent a lot of money every year in order to be collecting it. So part of that revamp of the system and trying to make it a much smoother system is exactly that. We've got the new contract starting with Waste and Street cleansing on 24th of March now. It's getting very close for my liking, and you'll have lots of information coming on that again soon. but is to try and make it as simple as possible for reporting and get a better responsive rate to collection as well. So that's why I'm saying try and report as much as possible because we can actually resources go in the right places.
Okay, any more on item 12? This is to be referred to service committee chairs for consideration. Does anyone have anything? Yours is probably on there, isn't it, Councillor?
Yeah.
Is that the appropriate way to do it?
Yeah, I always get slightly confused by this run around who does that, whether
Yeah.
it's the member or the officer.
That's what I was looking at you for.
I
think the direction from the area committee is forward to be referred, then I can probably refer it to the chair.
here is either chair to chair or through yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you'll do it, Janet?
I'll do it.
That's fine.
That makes sense. Cool, and then hopefully let's get a response from the chair of the. Any more? In which case, the next area committee takes place on 29th of February at the Alexander. I will wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy Yule and all of the festivities, and look forward to seeing you all in the new year. And that is I'm going to end the meeting at 20:38.